In the world of video games, not many titles have created as much buzz as Black Myth Wukong. This action RPG is inspired by the classic Chinese novel Journey to the West, created by the Chinese game studio Game Science. In fact, this is Game Science's first AAA game they developed before they were releasing mobile games. On the day of release, Black Myth Wukong had 2.2 million concurrent players on Steam, so to say it was successful would be an understatement. According to the Black Myth Wukong official Twitter, as of August 23rd, they have sold a total of 10 million copies across PC and PS5, which is insane for a game that hadn't even reached a week yet. Like, these are really high numbers, but I'm not super surprised though, because I had really high expectations for this game. But did it live up to my expectations? Now that I finally completed Black Myth Wukong, I thought I'd give y'all my thoughts on the game. Hey guys, my name is Peter, aka King Exodus, and in today's review, I'm gonna do my very best to not spoil anything story-wise or boss-wise. I'm only gonna show you clips from the first chapter, mainly because I want you to go experience all that this game has to offer for yourself. Okay, let's get into this. Black Myth Wukong is an action RPG game with soul-like elements, kinda like a mix of God of War and Stellar Blade. It has been described as a boss rush style game, and right off the bat it drops you into a boss fight. The whole intro is one of the best intros to a game I've seen in a while. Starting you off with Sun Wukong as he's being ascended into Buddhahood, while ultimately rejecting life with the Celestial Court and instead living a life of peace on his mountain. The Celestial Court didn't entirely enjoy being rejected and are now sending Erlang Shen, who is Sun Wukong's rival, and his army to bring him to the court, which starts the first of many boss fights that this game has to offer. After a duel against Erlang, as Wukong attempts to escape, he is bound to a circlet and sealed within a rock as a punishment, but manages to release his powers in form of 6 different relics that are scattered across China. Over the centuries, many monkeys have tried to free Sun Wukong from the captivity, but now it's your turn, being dubbed the Destined One, as he attempts to reclaim the 6 relics of Sun Wukong and to revive him. Black Myth Wukong's story is told in 6 chapters, each one standing for a relic from Wukong that the Destined One will claim on his journey to the west. The worlds in each chapter are kind of more linear than I thought it would be. Not to say there's no secrets to find, in fact this game has a lot of extra activities, including completing side quests which can net you some powerful material or gear to straighten your character, or unlocking some secret area that leads to some tough boss fights, in which there's a lot of them. Close to 90 if you need a number. But in the end, all chapters have an end goal for you to reach. So my best advice is to take Black Myth Wukong slowly and enjoy what it has to offer, especially since some of the side bosses might have an item that can make the main chapter bosses a little easier to deal with. I must mention, Black Myth Wukong has one difficulty that cannot be changed. But don't get it twisted, there's some really tough challenges that you'll have to deal with, and some that will have you contemplating your sanity if you're an impatient player like me. I'm looking at you, the great sage. Also, depending on how much of the game you complete, there's multiple endings to the Destined One story for you to see, so there's some incentive to go back and wrap up any side quests or side bosses that you left pending. There's also a new game plus mode, which allows you to go back and challenge the game with what you acquired during your first run. The combat is fast-paced, fluid, and deeply strategic, using your signature staff, spirits, and spells that the Destined One uncovers in his journey. The staff has 3 different stances for you to master, which are smash, pillar, and thrust stances, each having its own advantage and disadvantages, like smash prioritizing being in close combat but making you more susceptible to a mistake costing moment, or pillar which makes you stand on your staff and making you avoid most attacks from enemies but at the cost of your stamina bar. Yes, this game has a stamina bar, which you will need to manage while sprinting, dodging, and attacking, because once it's depleted you will move slower, leading to mistakes. Landing light attacks, avoiding attacks, or charging a heavy attack fill up your focus points that are used to land heavy attacks or powerful combos that you unlock. Defeating powerful side bosses give you their spirits that you can transform into for a powerful single attack, and has bonuses which can be extra defense or extra health. As you progress through the story, you will unlock spells which come in the form of mysticism, alteration, strand, and transformations. All except transformation come at the cost of your mana. Most of the spells you unlock allow you to adapt to different situations. For example, the first spell you get is called Immobilize, which makes you freeze your opponent, and sometimes I will use it on a more aggressive boss to gain some more distance for a more defensive position and healing using my gourd. or on a faster opponent that I'm having a hard time getting hits on, I'll use it to freeze them and get some cheap hits, and build my focus points to hit them with that powerful heavy attack. Transformations are pretty useful too, and those are unlocked by defeating a side boss in a chapter. The first you'll claim is the fire-wielding wolf, and it's called the Red Tide, and that came clutch with infecting Scorchbane on enemies and bosses. Look, with all these abilities at your disposal, you'll have many options with how you'll tackle a certain boss, and all these abilities can be upgraded in their skill tree. In fact, there's a skill tree for everything in Black Myth Wukong, from your stamina, martial arts abilities, each staff stance, spells, and transformations. They are upgraded using sparks that are gained by leveling up or finding meditation spots scattered around chapters. The best part is you're not stuck with any specific build, as at any point you can retrack your sparks and reassess them to different areas that you want to upgrade. For example, I was running a pillar stance for most of the game, but when I got to chapter 5, that wasn't entirely working, and I had to adjust to a more spell and thrust stance build. And I love that you can do that. There's also a gear and weapon system to strengthen your character outside of the survival skill tree. As you defeat more story bosses, you'll unlock gear associated with them, and they can be crafted using material and will points that you collect during the game. There's a gear upgrade system to strengthen some of the weaker gear from earlier in the game, but that's stuck behind a side quest that you need to complete to unlock the world first, so I recommend you craft new gear often until you find that Zodiac world. No surprise there's no weapon variation, especially since Wukong is known for his legendary staff, but there's different staffs that you can unlock or upgrade to strengthen your character too. The last thing I'll touch on is performance. Now, I played on PS5 on performance mode and some quality mode. I didn't have any major issues or crashes, but I will say this game looks really good the first 2 chapters, and after that it does have some visual issues. Don't get me wrong, the game looks beautiful, but there'd be moments where as I'm walking to a boss, I would see these black lines pop out of nowhere. And then there's this fish boss around chapter 5 where it would jump around and it just visually didn't look all that great. There was also reportedly an input lag issue on PS5, but maybe there was, I just never really noticed, to be honest. Aside from that, not really that bad. I say the PS5 version is playable and enjoyable, but I do know that the game looks and runs way better on the PC. So until a PS5 version is better optimized, or PS5 Pro, I'd recommend PC for the best version of Black Myth Wukong. Game Science deserves a round of applause for what they did with Black Myth Wukong. For being their first AAA game, they really hit a home run with it. They made a really good game that was a lot of fun, and sometimes that's all we can ask for. I'm definitely excited to see where they go from here. And hey, maybe Final Fantasy VII Rebirth finally has its first real contender for Game of the Year. Probably not. But I do think it'll be in the running at the very end of the year. Now to finally put a score on the Black Myth Wukong, so I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Let me know in the comments if you played Black Myth Wukong. And if you like this video, consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing to the channel for more gaming content like my review on Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which should be right here, or what YouTube thinks you might like from my channel. Thank you for watching this video, and until the next one, later.